Hello and welcome to the Pick Six Podcast. Katie Mox and Will Brinson here, joined by Emory Hunt and Alex Selelnick today, aka Propstarz. If you missed the last episode, we talked about Jonathan Taylor news with our friend Lige Douzable, as well as some season-long player props. You can catch that episode on YouTube or the audio version wherever you get your podcast. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss another episode, and hit the like button while you're at it as well. Today, we are breaking down preseason news and claiming it nonsense or reality. And we're going to give some superlatives to number one draft picks based on their preseason play thus far. And then you know it. You got some week 3 preseason, bets coming your way, fellas. Lovely to see you on a Thursday. It's kind of, we're like less than 2 weeks out from week
We're
one
literally 2 weeks away from the NFL starting. And just 1 week from NC State going up to Storrs, Connecticut, and beginning a season-long parade of disappointment in my life.
How affected are you by NC State sports?
Embarrassingly affected.
Okay.
Like a go Tar Heels. Stupid clip. I don't know why I agreed to say that. There was something Carolina was doing. Oh no, it was like Carolina needed to win to like for something good to happen to State.
On the Tar Heels. That's what was happening there.
I don't root on it's pretty rare for me to root on the Tar Heels, but I guess you haven't man, you haven't wait till you when we invariably lose, when NC State loses a back-breaking game to like Wake Forest, you're going to see me on Monday and I'm not going to be very nice on the podcast. I'm going to be like, "Hi, hello Katie, what's up? How are we doing?"
Well, I look forward to that, Brinson. That sounds like
real charming.
A lot of fun. Emory, is there a team that does that to you?
There is.
The Raging Cajuns?
They really don't, affect my mood like that. I'm just glad to see them do well. But it what really bothers me is when our rivals, and there's 2 of them. There's UL Monroe and or Louisiana Tech. Now, Louisiana Tech is a little bit more ornery, but UL Monroe is like when they win, it's like, damn, like we let these dudes beat us, and that's the one thing. But this year we don't have to worry about none of that. We're going to defeat it. So see y'all.
Like if NC State beats UConn on Thursday to open up the season a week from today, and then North Carolina loses to South Carolina in Charlotte on Saturday, I'll be moonwalking into the podcast on Monday, just like peacocking around.
I will say this though, in quick side story, my college thesis was my communications thesis was taking a natural phenomenon, which was the theory of locus of control, where we believe outside forces control our everyday life.
This is a plot twist.
And tie it to something that happens in real life and see if the two connected. So I took that theory, and when the Saints won a loss, how good my week was. And it was I said it was over the 2002 season. And it was like when the Saints won, I seemed like I passed all my tests.
Yeah.
I found money on the ground. I remember one time the Saints lost to the Vikings on that stupid fumble 2-point conversion when they had the gold jerseys on.
Yeah.
And I took a nap. And my roommate woke me up. He was like, "Bro, somebody broke in our cars." First thing I said was the Saints lost. So that used to affect my mood heavily.
Yeah, obviously when the 49ers lost the last 2 Super Bowls, you couldn't really talk to me for about a week. I was just totally, completely unhappy. But I also have this weird thing, interesting to your thesis. And this is totally not true. You know how sports fans, we come up with these weird good luck things or we find meaning in all these strange things. If I see 49s everywhere, I'll go on Twitter and be like, "Oh, this was posted 49 minutes ago," or "This was posted 49 seconds ago," or whatever. Then I'm like, "We're going to win. We're going to win." I started seeing 49ers everywhere. Saw a lot of that before the NFC Championship game. So kind of debunked that theory. But Propstarz, you're an Eagles fan. Is that who ruins your mood?
Yeah, I'm a diehard Philadelphia 4x4
Mm.
fan. My mood largely hinges on sort of the state of the professional franchises in Philadelphia. So that's going to dictate kind of how happy I am. But obviously, it's been some good times recently being an Eagles fan, so no complaints there.
By the way, I just want to point out real quick while we're doing banter, and this
Yeah.
relates to the Phillies. I don't know if you guys saw my interactions with Colts fans on
Ooh.
Wednesday night or not. But somebody was like, for some reason they got on like onto my height.
Yeah.
And
The great state of North Carolina.
right, exactly. So like, look, somebody Googled. Okay, I want to point out one thing here.
Yeah. Let's
Colts-
set this record straight, Brinson. The
Well,
people
no,
need to know how tall
we'll
you are.
get to the official measurement in a second. But I will say that a Colts fan thought he was getting me
Ooh.
good because he's like, he Googled Will Brinson height. He's like, you're 5'7". If you are Googling Will Brinson height, you're the biggest loser on planet Earth. Which, yeah. And I was like, I was like so caught up in it. I forgot last night was Wednesday, not Tuesday. This guy Googled Will Brinson height. I am a man of average stature and stand at a height of 5'7", approximately 1.7 meters. This is an old. This is why I grew a beard. Somebody said I look like a thumb.
No,
Thumb with a hairy thumb.
You look like a classic 80s, early 90s
Frat bro.
that work on Wall Street. That's you know what?
Mm.
That's the perfect description.
Like
AKA a thumb.
Like a douchebag, or like what are you? What's it, like
Also known as a hairy thumb.
Yeah, a hairy thumb. Yeah, it's actually funny. I was up in, and then as you can see, the great state of North Carolina has me listed at 5'9".
Wow.
Hazel eyes, accurate. Hair, brown, accurate. Sex, male, accurate. How could the height possibly be wrong? It's not like I gave him a number when I went to the DMV at age 16 and haven't bothered to correct the record since. That didn't happen. As far
I
as
can
you know.
vouch for you to your height too, because we are the same height. I might be a half inch taller than you.
And are you 5'9"?
Yeah.
I think I actually might be 5'9". I like the other thing too is like I'm not 6 feet tall, so I don't care. I'm not 5'3". I'm not 5'5", which is for a dude, as you know, like because I don't. I mean, like look, I'm not 6 feet tall. I'm not over 6 feet tall. I know I'm under, and that's all I really care about. I'm not Prisco, and I'm not 6 feet tall. Like that's pretty much my only concern with height.
Too. Ryan Wilson like 5'3".
Yeah,
Oh, Ryan Wilson in the chat here saying that's when Brinson was doing roids, and then Emory throwing some bombs back at.
I think. Do you think? Yeah, roids. Yeah. I'm a big roid guy. I'm not sure. I probably count on one hand the number of times I bench pressed anything. Like, that's how roidy I am.
All right. Well,
anyway, Colts fans. Arguing with Colts fans is like arguing with a bowl of vanilla ice cream. Like it's not that fun. They're not even clever, and it's just sort of annoying. It's just like get lost, dudes. Like why are you out here caping up for Jim Irsay like he's doing anything good with this franchise? My God.
Well, I think you might have just made it worse there. So I will look forward to seeing what all the tweets say to you today. On that note, guys, let's get into the show today. And our friend Jeff Kerr wrote an article on CBSSports.com, which you can find about some overreactions to some of the preseason news. So we thought we'd take a look at some of these and say nonsense or reality. Now, this first one is not in his article, but it is relevant. The Niners announced that Sam Darnold will be QB2, not Trey Lance. Lance was not at practice yesterday, and there were reports that the Niners have been shopping him around all preseason long, though in an interview, Shanahan mentioned that he would like to keep Lance on the team this season. So, Emory, I'm going to start with you. Nonsense or reality that Trey Lance will never take another snap for the Niners?
So final. But I'm going to say that is reality. Because there's a type for Kyle Shanahan. It's not the super talented type. It's a guy that is, average skill set that he can make look like a quarterback genius by having him throw dump offs off play action in the flat, right?
Time out though. But he drafted him. He went and found that exact person that you're talking about.
No. Oh yeah, he drafted him late, but he also drafted the guy that is going to be on the out third overall. But then it also, when this shows that this guy may not be ready to go, then you start to hear stuff leak out about how, I wanted this guy, I wanted that guy. Yeah. Like, I think this is a reality. I hate how teams leak out these negative reports about players.
The
and
Matt
then all of a
Jones
sudden-
stuff started with the Niners. It's like, oh, like
Exactly.
oh, wanted Mac. It's like you could just
Right.
sit there and take it Mac.
And now they got Purdy, and now they didn't want Mac anymore. But they leak all these negative reports out about a player, only to then turn around and say, "Well, we want value for that. We want some picks in return for that." Like, wait, you just trashed him. Cut him and let him go. I'm not giving you nothing. You know. So this is reality.
Brinson.
I mean, I think, and I mean, I wrote this. So I literally wrote this sentence, right? And like, never take another snap. And I think that's the interesting one here. I didn't think about this when I was writing it, clearly. But I think he'll take another snap because, man, the Purdy, just with the injury he's coming off of, just the nature of football, the number of quarterbacks we've seen. I mean, they changed the freaking rules in the NFL for the 49ers because they had to play. They run out of quarterbacks in the AFC Championship game. It was like I thought they should have gone with McCaffrey McCaffrey with
he was switching out his helmet. I thought they were going to go for it too. Yeah,
exactly. And so I just think that because of just like that, the nature of that, I would guess that he would probably take another snap. But I think if Brock Purdy is healthy and Sam Darnold is healthy, then Trey Lance is probably taking his last snap for the 49ers, which is wild to think about. By the way, the compensation that the Dolphins received, Propstarz, for in the picks that were taken, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, and Bradley Chubb. Would those players be good? Would those players help a team at all?
Certainly would help a team, Brinson. Yeah, I'm more inclined to lean towards this being nonsense. Obviously, he's going to be showcased in this preseason game against the Chargers. I think if he goes and balls out, has a really impressive performance, then there's a scenario where maybe San Francisco receives a second-round pick, a conditional pick, something along those lines. If he kind of has a mediocre ho-hum performance, then I really think San Francisco would benefit for those reasons that you listed, Brinson. Look at last year as a great example. San Francisco could have used 3 quarterbacks in the NFC Championship, even in the regular season as well. So just having those healthy bodies, familiarity with the system, coupled with the fact we know San Francisco is contending. If they were in a scenario where they were rebuilding, I could see them more willingly open to moving Lance, but considering the position, how important it is, having a guy familiar with the playbook, I think it benefits them on a friendly contract to at least be here one more year unless they get totally blown over with a really solid offer, which I don't think is going to happen.
Yeah, I agree with Propstarz on this one. One, I think, look, they're trying to shop him. They're trying to see what the interest is. And to your point, Emory, it's kind of hard when you trash someone to go along and then shop him. But at the same time, I don't think they're going to get whatever it is that they're expecting for him. So I do think he is going to stay on the 49ers team this year. And to all of the people on Twitter that are like, oh, the Niners are just giving up on him, they never gave him a chance, I will remind you, he was QB1 last year over Jimmy Garoppolo. It's unfortunate that he got hurt, and it's unfortunate for him that Brock Purdy did so well. But the Niners did give him a chance. They were willing to make him QB1 and take all of those hits last year. And then just the circumstances are super, super unfortunate for someone like Trey Lance. But I don't.
Jimmy G got banished to the practice field. Remember that last offseason? Jimmy G was like out there throwing footballs by himself. With he's like, not he couldn't talk to anybody. He's just like I'm sad Jimmy G like throwing balls at like a net.
Right. And so it drives me crazy. And people are like, oh, they never gave him a chance. They absolutely did. And
they gave him the job. They handed him the job. And he got hurt, and that sucks. But then, he had a chance this year. Just go beat out Sam Darnold.
Yeah. True. Which everyone says Sam Darnold sucks, which I don't necessarily agree. But if that's the case, then why are you placing Trey? Anyways, that's neither here nor there. Let's move on to the next nonsense or reality that the Steelers will have a top 10 offense. Kenny Pickett was 9 of 11, 113 yards, 2 touchdowns, 149.0 rating. The theory here from Kerr is that if Pickett keeps showing his progress, consistently here, that this offense is going to be significantly better and will actually complement the defense. Propstarz, will start with you. Is this nonsense or reality?
I think this is total nonsense, Katie. I think it's going to take an extraordinary leap for Kenny Pickett in order for this Pittsburgh offense to be top 10. I think it's far more likely they're a bottom 10 offense. Looking at the offseason, the big move as far as skill position players were concerned was adding Allen Robinson, who is completely cooked at this stage of his career. 0 separation. I like George Pickens, but Deontay Johnson was one of the most inefficient wide receivers in the NFL over the last 3 seasons. The offensive line should be a little more cohesive, returning all their starters, but just really unable to open up any running lanes for Najee Harris. Najee Harris looks to me a lot more like Todd Gurley at the end of his career or Trent Richardson. Very little burst, very little acceleration getting to the next level. Just looks more like a plotter to me. Jalen Warren, there's some upside there, but this Pittsburgh offense is slow. They're in a brutal division. Kenny Pickett's probably the 4th best quarterback in his own division. I think this offense is going to struggle all season long scoring points. So, yeah, I am complete nonsense to me.
Emory.
I will say he might be the 5th if we talking DTR. You slide it. You know what I'm saying? But this was savvy by Jeff Kerr. I love Jeff Kerr, by the way. He's a great writer. This is savvy by him because he said top 10 and not top 5, which would have been bold. Top 10 gives you a little bit more wiggle room. Yep. I'm gonna run through 9 teams and y'all let me know.
That's what I was gonna do. Yeah, I like this. I like this. Yeah.
Chargers, Ravens, Chiefs, Eagles, Cowboys, Dolphins, Bengals, Seattle, San Francisco. That's 9.
You didn't say Bills. You didn't say Bills either.
Right, because I got 9 because you got the Steelers offense on paper looks good, but now where do you put them over the Bills, the Browns, the Jets, or the Packers? Right?
Did you say Jaguars? Did you say Jaguars?
I didn't say
nobody said Jaguars.
Okay. Yeah.
Nobody. I'm not saying that right now. Because I'm looking at with the Jags. If you want to throw the Jags in there, that's fine too. But that 9th spot or that 10th spot is where you're thinking Pittsburgh is. Now that is going to require like Propstarz says, extremely large jump from a guy that threw 7 touchdowns and 9 picks last year. So I need to see that happen before I can get on board with that. And top 10 offense, man, that's asking a lot when we're looking at a lot of these already explosive offenses that are established and potential explosive offenses that we expect to come into the league. So this will be tough. They could have a top 15 offense and still be a really good offense, but top 10, although savvy by Jeff, is a little bit too much for me. So I think it's nonsense.
Yeah, when we do these bold prediction podcasts, it's like always like John Breach's specialty where he's like finds a way to like say something and you're like, that's bold, but you're also like, wait a minute, that's like a loophole there. Well, like I don't know that Jeff, I think it's a really good one by Jeff because it is bold, but I don't think that I don't think there's a big enough loophole to your point, Emory, to expect. Like you would need a literal leap forward like Kenny Pickett took in college in 2021 when he went from a guy who in 2020, and granted, COVID year, but he played the full season. So 2019, he completed 61.6% of his passes, threw for 3,098 yards over 12 games, 13 touchdowns and 9 picks. Followed up is his first senior year, just like me, in 9 games, completed 61% of his passes, 2,400 yards. Remember, COVID year, only 9 games, 13 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. And then in 2021, like, how the hell is this the same guy? Because he completed 67% of his passes for 4,319 yards in 13 games, including the ACC championship, for almost 9 yards per attempt, 42 touchdowns and 7 picks. Like, how the hell is that the same guy? Like, if he makes that leap, then this is going to be a top 10 offense. But
that sounds like the anomaly right there, huh?
Right. Exactly. That sounds like the outlier, right? That gets him drafted in the first round. And like, I think it's just really unlikely that he takes that sort of leap at the NFL level in a difficult division with Matt Canada as his play caller and some question marks on the offensive line, although I think they did a pretty good job revamping it. So I do think there's a good chance this is a top 15 offense, as Emory pointed out, but a top 10 offense is asking for too much of a leap. I will say nonsense.
Yes, agree with all of you on that one. All right, next one. Will Levis should be the backup for Ryan Tannehill and not Malik Willis. Willis played a whole preseason game for the Titans last weekend. He finished 10 of 17 for 85 yards with a touchdown, an interception, and had a 67 passer rating. Kerr says that even with a year of experience, Willis hasn't showcased why he should be the number 2 quarterback over Levis. We'll start with you, Brinson. Nonsense or reality?
So I'm making sure I don't answer. When like somebody ask you a question, you say like yes, and you're like, wait a minute, no, and they're like, what, yeah. Will Levis should not back up Ryan Tannehill. So I will say nonsense. Malik Willis. Like I know. I'll let Emory take the floor here because I think that like the idea of like Will Levis being above Malik Willis will get like a fire lit under his butt just like as we talked about it before. I will say nonsense.
Yeah, because is he healthy now? Because he didn't play last week because he was hurt.
Yeah, my dude's out here signing lifetime contracts with Hellman's mayonnaise. Like what? Look at, yeah, like this is what you. I mean, look, get the bag, bro. Good for you. Get that bag. But like, I don't know that I would be like slamming mayonnaise if I'm trying to be a starting NFL quarterback.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's not even healthy enough to compete. If he was competing, they were going toe to toe. So the last image we got of him actually playing ball for the Titans was throwing a game-losing interception. Like, what are we even talking about here? So it is nonsense because this is the second year with this offensive personnel for Malik Willis. He's healthy. He's been consistent. He played a good game against Chicago, up and down game, having to play the whole game against their last opponent, the Colts, I believe, or whoever they played last week. So Levis hadn't played enough. And this is someone coming off of an injury-plagued senior season and now already is banged up with a thigh injury, I believe. If reports are coming out that he had his leg was wrapped, he didn't even practice yesterday, threw a little bit but didn't practice. Like, no, so it's nonsense.
Propstarz.
I'm going to personally lean nonsense, although I do think that Levis will ultimately be the backup. I'm with you guys. I've seen enough from Willis to think that he's earned the backup job. He's certainly looked well. He's played well in the preseason, definitely shows a lot more command of the offense. It was rough watching him as a rookie, but yeah, looks a lot better. Obviously offers a dual threat option as well, which I think is beneficial to the offense. But I just think because of Levis's draft pedigree, he'll ultimately be the backup, coupled with the fact that he's really seemed to have won over a lot of his teammates, at least according to a lot of practice reports that might be, coming out of Tennessee, with the hopes that he does win the backup job. But I just think reading the tea leaves here, there's too much to suggest that Tennessee really wants Levis as the backup. So I think he ultimately will be the backup, although I don't think he's been necessarily earned the job based on his preseason performance.
Yeah, we got to get this mayonnaise in the coffee off of
the screen. I'm going to throw up.
I cannot look at it
throw
anymore.
up on my microphone. Just like, bleh.
Anthony in the chat very eloquently said, well, Levis probably sucks, but Malik Willis definitely sucks. So a lot of optimism there for the Titans. Next one, Jonathan Taylor won't play for the Colts this season. Colts gave Taylor and his reps till Tuesday to get an offer on the table. Nonsense or reality? I'm going to go ahead and say this is nonsense. He will be playing for the Colts this year.
Yeah, I'm with you. Nonsense. I mean, I think what – so I look, I don't want to be – Stephen Holder has reported that the trade situation, go get a trade offer, came from Chris Ballard. And I think Stephen Holder is a really good reporter, and he's covered the Colts for a really long time. And so I'm not questioning that. I've covered this league for a long time. Watched the Colts pretty closely. They have Phillip Rivers, right? Big Chris Ballard guy. Talked to Jim Irsay plenty of times at the owners' meetings. Like this, everything about this has Jim Irsay's like greasy fingerprints all over it. Like my man is in the kitchen clanging pots and pans, trying to be he's just basically being like a fantasy football owner because he's a billionaire with a bunch of guitars and thinks that he can run a football team, and he's desperate to get back the shoe. We've got to get back the shoe. You know how you get back the shoe? You stumble back asswards into another generational quarterback and then underachieve with them, because that's what you did with Peyton Manning. The Colts were incredible with Peyton Manning, but they won one Super Bowl with Peyton Manning. You got Peyton Manning, you better win more than one Super Bowl. I understand that Belichick and Brady made life tough in the AFC. I get that. But they flat out ruined Andrew Luck's career. Like, generational prospect, and they ruined him. And so, like, Irsay, I don't think Colts fans understand it. They fell into two of the four greatest quarterback prospects in the last 40 years. That kind of luck doesn't happen, pun intended. And to act like you're going to like trade away Jonathan Taylor, but we've got like, as you pointed out, Emory, it's like, I mean, this guy could be out of the league tomorrow and no one would care. They're like, but we do want a first round pick for him. So it's nonsense. He's coming back. But Emory, I mean, this is what you were talking about, I think, right?
Yeah, it's so nonsense. And is Taylor even healthy? Like every picture I see of him, he limping around like someone that has not only an ankle injury, but he's walking like his back hurt. That's how I walk when my back hurts, right? And so I feel like we don't even know if he's healthy yet. They have to understand cooler heads will prevail. He'll be on the team and he'll play at some point during the season for the Indianapolis Colts. Nonsense.
I would agree here. I think it's very unlikely that he departs Indianapolis. If this was maybe the year 2000 or 2005, I'd be more inclined to believe that, where teams were, investing more in the running back position. But considering they're asking for a first round pick or a second round pick, and then going to have to extend Jonathan Taylor afterwards, when it's very likely his best years are behind him, teams have smartened up quite a bit. I don't think any team is foolish enough to give them that sort of draft compensation and then to go give Jonathan Taylor a large contract. So it'd be a huge error. I think it's very likely he ends up playing this season with the Colts.
Yep. Most likely to play with the Colts.
Unless he's fooling everybody and has the James Harden fat suit on out there walking around.
That's the greatest thing on planet Earth, man. Harden's like, you better trade me because I'm fat as hell. He's like, I'll play for your team, but I am fat. I haven't worked out. How you're so rich and you're in such good shape. Like, it's like, these actors who like can put on 30 pounds before a role. Like, James Harden's so rich and in such good shape and just crazy enough to go get fat as hell and demand a trade. I like it. James Harden, if we do superlatives for the NBA, James Harden would be most likely to gain 30 pounds and demand a trade. And we are going to do superlatives before the NFL. We'll do it coming up next after the break.
Driving into the stadium, seeing everybody tailgating, I get that ready to go feeling.
To walk through the fan section over there and see that many people excited about football, so I'm really looking forward to it.
You get away from football for a little bit and then you start missing and you get that itch again.
For me, that first catch is everything. Once I get one catch, I'm in the zone.
Getting back to football.
We can't wait.
Can't wait.
We can't wait.
We can't wait.
All right, welcome back to the Pick Six podcast. Superlatives time. Alex, Emory, Katie, did you guys get any superlatives when you were? I don't even know if we did superlatives at McCall at my alma mater, Macaulay. You see the helmet back there. I'm not sure that we had superlatives in the yearbook because it's all dudes boarding school, right? So that's not really like a thing that guys do like by themselves.
But the yearbook does it. The yearbook.
No, but you need like I think maybe we did.
Yeah.
I think I was like most likely to cut his own hair or something like that.
Yesterday, Amanda and I on Spotlight were giving Brinson a hard time because he just volunteered that he cuts his own hair.
I don't cut my own hair. I usually Katie G cuts my hair. But I was on HQ, or we were doing the podcast, I think on Tuesday, and I kept seeing this like my hair's really long right now. And I kept seeing this like mullet creep out of the back and it was freaking me out.
Yeah.
And so I kind of like started cutting here and I was like, oh, I cut it here. And I was like, all of a sudden I was like, what are you doing, Will? You're an idiot. Like this, you could end up with a rat tail. And actually it ended up okay. So I was kind of shocked.
Mm-hmm.
I was most humorous in high school.
I love that.
I wasn't most athletic. We gave that to Scott Vandermeer, who great friend of mine. Actually, his mom did my knee surgery in high school. He ended up getting drafted by the Tampa Bay Devil Rays at the time. Ooh. So he was he should have been a quarterback. Scott was like Drew Bledsoe. He should have been playing football with us, but he was a great baseball player. But I was most humorous.
I don't remember if I got anything in high school, but in middle school, I was most dramatic, but not because I actually thought I was dramatic. I think it's just because I was the lead in the play.
Nah, you were dramatic.
At least that's what I tell myself.
Alex, you get anything?
Superlatives? I think I was most talkative, actually, or most disruptive maybe in class. Yeah, I know. I kind of introverted now, but back then I was a social butterfly. So
I think
I was spreading my wings often.
I think there's probably a pretty good chance that I got something about like most likely to not shut up or something like that. Yeah.
Most likely to end up like Ferris Bueller. That's what I would say is you.
But is that good or bad?
No, it's good. It just means someone that is fun. It can talk them. I imagine that you can talk
most likely to talk themselves out of getting in trouble.
Yeah, but it's like mischievous. It's not
and a problem with authority as well.
Yes,
Ferris Bueller wasn't bad. I mean, yeah, he was breaking some laws, but it was like.
Have you ever seen the theory? Have you seen the theory about the Ferris Bueller theory that this will like change your mind when you see it, and like the best scene in it is during the parade when Ferris is up there singing Donkashane and then singing Swish and Shout, but like Cameron and Sloan are walking along the street And she's like, and like you can kind of see they're like the way they interact is like a little more than just like friends. The theory is that it's a Fight Club theory that Ferris is born out of Cameron's imagination, and all of these things never actually happened. And that's why like Cameron is like, you know, lying in bed and he's depressed. He's like, I can't do anything. He's like, Ferris can do whatever he wants. Like, and she was like, what do you think, Ferris? Like, it's if you watch the movie thinking that, it will blow your mind.
I love those like movie theories, like Snowpiercer is a sequel to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Have you guys ever heard that one?
Is that a one? I didn't.
Oh, there's an amazing YouTube video. It's like 2 hours long, breaking down how it's very likely Snowpiercer is a sequel to Willy Wonka.
Snowpiercer?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out.
If you think about it, those bars that they eat, there's just all these connections. So yeah, they eat these like kind of nameless bars on the back of Snowpiercer. If you saw that movie where they're stuck on this train that's going around. Plus,
I really want to know what Emory's going to get right now.
Willy Wonka was also building stuff like inventions as well. So yeah, there's all these various theories about it. So check it out.
I am a big philosophy guy. I told you guys that. I don't know if I did, but I told you guys that. So these are always phenomenal for me. These like 1984 and philosophy, Dr. Seuss.
Oh man, Dr. Seuss. The Simpsons, yes. I got the Simpsons one.
Rogers' Neighborhood. Oh, it's weird to look at these things we all watched as kids and like, damn, that was really deep.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's crazy. I'm a big.
No, that's cool. I like that. I like that. Yeah, that's a great call because like and now you would watch it. You're like, oh my god, like that's amazing. Like how they weave the theme in there. But yeah, like I think all right, I'm gonna check out the Snowpiercer thing. Make sure, but like. Watch the scene where they're walking and like think about it, and you'll be like, "Holy crap!"
Now I can already picture it that he has created
because like it is like impossible that Ferris would just go up on the.
But what about the sister? What about the sister? Because she's mad at Ferris the whole time. She doesn't really.
Well, but that's the thing is you never see Cameron's family at all. You never see, you hear about his dad and his mom. You never see a single member of his family, and so like the whole idea is that like, he's probably
So they stole the Ferrari. It's not Cameron's dad Ferrari. It's some random man's Ferrari in that house.
Or it's like Cameron's parents are just Ferris's parents. But like, I mean, it's a whole convoluted thing.
All right,
we should probably get to superlatives.
Yeah.
Most likely to host a podcast and most likely to derail a podcast. That was my superlative. My actual superlatives for preseason. We're doing I screwed up here and didn't realize we're doing first round draft picks on my second one, but I'll do it anyway. Don't care. I do have one in there. Zay Flowers, most likely to become on the field Antonio Brown. I don't think anybody else wanted to take Zay, so we're good there. That touchdown run he had, or the touchdown catch and run he had against the Commanders on Monday night. This guy's so explosive in short yardage. He is like just physically can move his body like the way like people we remember Antonio Brown for all the dumb crap he did. But like Antonio Brown as a player was an incredible. He was going to be a Hall of Famer, and he still could theoretically be a Hall of Famer based on his stats. He won't get in because too
many outside. Yeah.
Well, but that's not supposed to factor in. That's why they won't even kick OJ out. Crazy. It's not supposed to factor in, but like of course they're going to hold that against him. They held it against T.O. But I'll say I think you watch him play, and I think that's a viable possibility. You guys agree, disagree? Think there's a chance that works?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that anybody wants to be compared to Antonio Brown, but on the field, yes.
On the field, I would absolutely agree. I thought Zay Flowers looked phenomenal. I think he's going to be one of the more productive rookie wide receivers as well. His skill set just aligns really well with Lamar Jackson. There's a huge opportunity on that depth chart as well. Really hard to trust Rashad Bateman, who's just came off the PUP list. Odell Beckham Jr. hadn't had a 1,000-yard season since 2019. So I think he could easily emerge as that second target behind Mark Andrews and just catch a ton of passes over the middle of the field in a new look, revamped Todd Monken, Lamar Jackson-led offense. So I think there's a tremendous opportunity for him to be productive right away. I love Zay Flowers this season.
All right, who's got a next superlative?
Oh, that would be me. Jahmyr Gibbs most likely be the next 1,000 guy. That's 1,000 yards rushing, 1,000 yards receiving. And if we want to take it a step further, just because Miss Catherine Mox is on the show, he'll be more consistent of 1,000-yard rusher than Christian McCaffrey. Because I think we kind of assume how great McCaffrey is, that he
does everything. I get it. Yeah.
But that he rushed for 1,000 yards his entire career. But that quietly ain't the case. But Gibbs to me has that level of I don't need the ball much to make 1,000 yards, and also the receiving threat as well. And on the flip side of that, Brian Brisee of the New Orleans Saints will be the how did this guy last to the end of the first round type guy moving forward, because we remember how he was as a freshman.
Yeah.
Dominant, can play across the front. And then he had the injury against Georgia his second season. And then this past year, he was dealing with life issues.
His sister passed, right?
Right. And so that's what I mean. His young sister.
Young sister died. Yeah, it was a thing, man. Like, it was a big,
that's hard to deal with. You know what I'm saying? And so.
Well, and I think too, sorry, I'm not to interrupt you. I just think I heard something. Didn't somebody say that the game before, the first game after his sister died, I think it was a college football playoff game that they played at the Superdome. And so he was like floored when the Saints ended up drafting him. Like, that's where he's going to play his football, because like he like thinks about her in that setting, which I think is just really fascinating.
That's beautiful.
And when you have to deal with that in recovering from injury, a knee injury, like, that's a lot. So him getting back healthy mentally and then physically, this is still a top 8 talent, in my opinion, along the defensive line. So I expect him to have that significant jump in his play, and people will be like, man, how do you last so long?
I like it. And I don't hate the Christian McCaffrey kind of comparison or put over. I have a superlative a little bit later that kind of trumps McCaffrey as well.
What you got, Alex?
Yeah, I've got 2. I got Rashee Rice to potentially lead all rookies in receiving yards. I think this guy is going to end up as Patrick Mahomes' #1 receiver. Obviously, we know Travis Kelce is the guy in that offense, but there is a huge opportunity for Rashee Rice, who has looked very good in the preseason. 13 targets, 11 catches, 126 yards through 2 games. He's been heavily featured. The Chiefs have also been utilizing him all over the formation as well. They've had a couple screen passes, a pop pass where he was coming across the formation in motion. So I'm loving the way they're being creative and utilizing him in that Andy Reid offense. Also, if we look at this Chiefs depth chart, there is a massive opportunity for him as well. Kadarius Toney has had 1 good NFL game in his career, plus has never stayed healthy, already dealing with injuries. Sky Moore, who was thought to be, emerged last year as a rookie, has done nothing despite being given every opportunity. Juju Smith-Schuster obviously vacated this offense, as well as McCole Hardman. So there is a tremendous opportunity for 100-plus targets for Rice to step up and emerge as a guy for Mahomes. So I think he has potentially a high floor with a just monstrous ceiling if he continues to develop. So I love his chances to potentially be that guy, lead all rookie wide receivers in receiving yards. You can find gave this out actually on a former podcast we did at close to 20-1 odds, still available there. Then I'm going to talk about Emmanuel Forbes potentially being defensive rookie of the year.
Most likely to be the namesake of this podcast, because he is a pick six machine.
He is a pick. That's so appropriate. I believe he has an NCAA record, 6 defensive touchdowns, 14 interceptions. That was in the SEC. That obviously translates right away. If you guys watched the Super Bowl of preseason games, which I certainly did, the Commanders versus the Ravens a few nights ago, he had a 3rd-and-1 play, Melvin Gordon on a sweep, came up, tackled him in the backfield, blew the play up. Super impressive. Not something you assume a corner is going to really do. So that was a great sign. I think he's really endearing himself to that Commanders defense, which quietly was a top 10 defense last year, gave up the 4th fewest passing yards in the league. They have a very good secondary on paper. He's going to start at corner. I think he's going to be tasked with slowing down A.J. Brown, slowing down CeeDee Lamb. He's going to get his hands on some balls. I think some quarterbacks are going to test him, and they're going to find out really quickly how this kid has elite playmaking skills. I think he has a great shot to be defensive rookie of the year. Reminds me from an attitude perspective a lot of Sauce Gardner, who won the award last year. So those are 2 rookies that I absolutely love, who I think are just headed for huge things coming into the season.
I love it.
Katie, I've got one more. It's not a rookie. Wasn't even a first-round pick. Do you mean to give it out, or do you mean to?
Would you like me to go, or do you just want to take over the whole thing here, Will?
You go.
Just
I didn't know if you wanted to.
By the way, I'm just kidding. I'm just
That was
kidding.
good though. That was good.
Yeah.
That was a good. You both scared. I actually blushed a little bit.
I felt like I scared you.
I was like, wow. I was like, wait, she's.
I thought you.
How am I falling for this?
No.
I ain't gonna lie. I'm getting cooked.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna laugh there, and then when I saw your face, I was like, "Oh no!"
I leaned into it.
All right. All right. So I have
scared.
Yeah. Well, I can be scared. All right. Will Anderson Jr. most likely to sing the national anthem at a future Hall of Fame game. This is obviously just a DeMarcus Ware comparison, both on the field and off the field. We've seen just a small sample size of what Anderson can do, but I mean, I think we can all agree that he belongs in the starting lineup, come week 1. If you look at his very first preseason game, he recorded a 92.1 pass rushing grade, 12 pass rush reps, 1 sack, 1 pressure. But not only that, I just think his personality. You heard Nick Saban say all these great things about him, how he's one of his favorite players, how he wishes everybody could emulate him. And really, DeMarcus Ware had that same, really popular personality. He was a favorite amongst everyone. So that's mine.
Love it. I went with a non-rookie because somebody who just can't. We were talking about this segment, hey, here's a good idea for a segment. Let's do rookies. And I'm like, Sam Howell.
Well, I get it.
Yeah, Sam Howell. Might as well be a rookie. Honestly, had played I think 1 week last year. I'm going to say that he is most likely to Rosencopter across the goal line for a division-winning Week 17 rushing touchdown. And the reason this is sort of like a totally convoluted way of saying I think Sam Howell. He is a crazy runner. For his size, the way that he runs is literally insane. He has no fear when he gets out and runs, and he's willing to use his legs. I think he's going to use his legs way more than people expect him to this season. I think he'll play the whole year. And I think if he can stay healthy, that he will really surprise some people and give Washington a chance in this division. That's sort of the convoluted way. You have a more interesting one on an actual rookie though, Katie.
Well, I don't know if it's more interesting, but Bijan Robinson, I'm saying that he is most likely to be RB1 in your fantasy draft this year, which would, of course, put him above Christian McCaffrey. So I actually agree with you. And look, the Bijan Robinson hype train has left the station. It is so far down the track at this one. He earned a 70 rushing grade. I think they've given him over 70% of the snaps with Ritter and the first team offense. His preseason games have just been absolutely crazy. He's explosive. He's got those one-handed catches that he can do.
His rushing prop is 1150 or something.
Yeah.
That is wild for a rookie.
And he's one of the favorites even to have the most rushing yards in the entire season. And he's only 21 years old. One thing with these running backs, when you look at the top people, they've come from injuries and they're a little bit older. So I actually think that this guy is, could be your number 1, could be top 5 in your fantasy picks.
I like it.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's take a quick break here, guys. And when we get back, we will actually get into some week 3 preseason bets and a couple of futures. We're watching Pick 6. We'll be right back.
Fight for something. First play of the game to the last play of the game. 1, 2, 3.
And we got 2 of the hottest conferences. This is big-time college ball.
They're going to come. We're going to come.
2 big boys getting ready to play.
Big, the operative word here.
And here they come.
All right, welcome back to the Pick 6 podcast. We got Mox, Brinson, Emory Hunt, and Alex Selelnick, the czar of the playbook, and Propstarz. All right, let's just kind of rapid fire through these week 3 preseason bets. Emory, you've got 3 bets for us?
I have 3, and 2 are in the NFL. 1 obviously is in the CFL because that's just what I do. Yeah. I love it. You guys, as much as people love passing the ball in this country, I'm surprised the CFL isn't a big thing in the United States.
It is weird. It should be more popular.
A lot of people just like to lie online. So I digress. I will go with the Chargers plus 7.5 against San Francisco. I like the Chargers makeup. First of all, they are probably one of the only NFL teams that subscribe to the Football Game Plan Draft Guide because they've drafted 4 of my top rated prospects over the last 2 draft classes. So I love what they have done in the draft. My number 1 guard, Jordan McFadden. My number 1 inside linebacker, Deion Henley. My number 1 slot corner, Asante Samuel Jr. My number 2 pass rusher, Ntuitu Palatu out of USC. Another highly top 10 pass rusher I had in Andrew Farmer out of Lane College. They have him on their roster. So they took my number 1 guard in 2021 in Zion Johnson. I am a big fan of what the Chargers have done personnel-wise because I feel like I built their team. But in this ball game, I love the depth here. I love the depth
Emory
here.
Telesco.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So I think they could knock out San Francisco, especially we don't know what we're going to get from Trey Lance now that all of this news is. Why does this news have to break before a game? Yeah. And maybe it's psychological that the coaches do. Like, I'm
That's a good point.
Yeah.
You know, this is what they're saying about you. Go out there and prove them wrong. So we could get a great game. Which that means I think the game will be close. So I like the Chargers plus the points here. 7.5 is too much. Cardinals, obviously, this was before they traded Isaiah Simmons to the Giants, but I like how they compete. They compete hard in these preseason games, sans last week. They got blown out. But I do think the Vikings are in trouble this year in the NFC North. I know you can't take too much from preseason, but their backup quarterback situation is questionable at best. I feel like this is an opportunity for the Cardinals to get themselves a win. And in the CFL tonight, or maybe this week, I can't remember which one it is. I'll have an article coming out after we're done with this podcast. I'll tweet it out and post it on Sportsline.
Okay.
But I like the Winnipeg Blue Bombers -8.5. And I think this line has jumped up even more to 10 points. I like this. Last week, they got out of Dodge alive on a pick 6 against Calgary that gave them the 19-18 win. This is a team that has the best defense in the CFL, a rotation of pass rushers, and they're getting their starting quarterback who is right there with Chad Kelly for most outstanding player award in the CFL and Zach Calero. So when you factor in all of these aspects, they're going to beat the doors off of their opponent this weekend. Lay the 8.5 or 10 if it's up there now with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They're steamrolling toward what should have been their fourth straight Grey Cup. You know, they lost last year to Toronto, ironically.
Yeah, if you like Emory's CFL plays, make sure you sign up to sportsline.com. You can use the promo code TROPHY to get your very first month for just $1. I've got 2 bets for this weekend. First, I'm taking the Bills laying the 3 points versus the Bears. And this mostly has to do with all of the injury concerns that are going on in Chicago right now, specifically with their O-line. 4 of their 6 O-linemen missed practice yesterday. So they're unlikely, I would think, to play this close to the start of the season. And then if you don't have your good guys out there, I can't imagine that Justin Fields is going to spend a lot of time out on the field today and risk him getting hurt behind these backups. I also think it's a good get back spot for Buffalo. They really didn't play well against the Steelers. I feel like they've got some kinks they got to work out. Maybe they want to clean up on some penalties, whereas Chicago just needs to stay healthy. So I'm going to go ahead and lay those 3 points with the Bills there. And then also Steelers versus Falcons, going chalk again, Steelers -4.5. I think a lot of the starters are unlikely to play in this matchup. Tomlin said he's going to keep his starters out until we have a level of satisfaction on both sides of the ball, which doesn't seem too good for the Falcons. Also, when you look at the quarterback depth, I mean, the Steelers, of course, have the edge here. We got Trubisky and Rudolph, who are going to still be competing for that number 2 spot. You really just don't see that on the other side. With the Falcons, Steelers also scored 27 in each of their first preseason games. And you have this quarterback battle going. I actually like the over in this game as well. And we do know that Tomlin, like Harbaugh, takes preseason games more seriously. He's 13-3. So I'm going to go ahead and lay that 4.5 with the Steelers.
All right. So that would be my turn to set up Alex. Alex, what do you have in the preseason action? I was actually perusing DraftKings trying to betting on the preseason is freaking hard, man.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, betting on the NFL is hard in the first place, right? Because the lines are just really tight. The markets are very efficient. But like, I can look at a spread and say, okay, I know exactly. I know who's playing.
Yeah.
I look at these preseason spreads. I'm like going back and checking like week 20, 2022, week 2 and all this stuff. Anyway, Alex, I got a couple, but Alex, what do you got first?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Brinson. That's why I stick to what I'm good at, which is NFL futures. I have not given any of these picks out anywhere. They're largely influenced by some preseason action as well. But you heard Emory talking about him in the last segment. I'm going to go Jahmyr Gibbs to lead the NFC North in rushing yards. You can find that at 12-1 odds. In addition to potentially being the offensive rookie of the year, I am all in on Gibbs's hype train. He has started and played every snap in week 1 of the preseason. That was all the Lions needed to see.
He's 12-1?
12-1 for offensive rookie of the year. In the NFC North, the lead in rushing yards, he's 10-1.
Okay.
Wow.
Or no, excuse me, he's 12-1.
Like
he's 12-1. 12-1.
I guess you got 12. Fields and Madison and Jones. Dillon.
You got Fields and Matt. So you've got
Fields in that division. You just got Fields.
You got Fields in that division, but obviously there's injury risk there. You've got Green Bay, who have a committee, and then the rest of the Chicago backs are in some form of timeshare with Dante Foreman,
I like that
Khalil Herbert. So yeah, I love his. I think this opportunity is going to be there. Obviously, we know Detroit has a great run blocking offensive line. I am not worried about David Montgomery either. 3.9 career yards per carry. I really think he's just going to be there to spell Gibbs. I think it's his backfield. I think he's going to get the bulk and the lion's share of the touches there, pun intended. So yeah, I love his chances there. Another future that I love, Brinson. I know you love a lottery ticket. This is a lottery ticket. We're going to go Kenny Gainwell to lead the NFC East in rushing yards at 200-1 odds. 200-1 odds.
How excited Brinson is.
Right? 200-1 odds on DraftKings. This price is a misprint in my opinion. It should be somewhere like 50-1 odds or even lower than that. He is likely going to be the featured early down runner for this Eagles team. Obviously, they signed Rashad Penny. They acquired DeAndre Swift. But all of the tea leaves, all of the reports out of Philadelphia have all suggested that they are much more comfortable with Kenny Gainwell. In the first 2 preseason games, he was starting. He was on the field in the first quarter for those games. He's also a Nick Sirianni favorite, one of his first draft picks as well. So I think Gainwell is going to end up leading that team in rushing attempts. To get him at 200-1 odds, in my opinion, is insane value. So that's the spot I absolutely love. And then last but not least, I'm actually shocked that this pick is still up on the board right now. It's DJ Chark under 675.5 receiving yards. One of the more injury-riddled players in the NFL. He's already just got hurt. I thought this would get taken off the board. I've heard reports suggesting that it's going to potentially, at the very least, limit him early in the season. He could potentially miss time as well from this hamstring injury. You obviously never want to have a soft tissue injury heading into the season as well when you're a wide receiver that's relying on cutting and verticality. So I think it's a great spot to fade him. We've also seen just the Carolina offensive line has looked absolutely dismal. It's going to need time for Chark, who runs a lot of those routes deep down the field. It's going to take time for those routes to develop, and that offensive line has just given up a ton of pressure in the preseason. So I don't think he's going to be on the field that much. When he is, I have some major question marks regarding his productivity. I think 700 yards is a huge ask. He's been in the league 5 years. He's already missed almost 2.5 seasons worth of games. He's only eclipsed 700 yards once out of his 5-year career as well. And as I mentioned, already dealing with an injury. So great spot, in my opinion, to fade DJ Chark under 675 for the season.
I like it. Emory, it looked like somebody cracked a rotten egg open in your office when you said.
Because I was getting ready to say Propstarz was president after his fantastic analysis about Jahmyr Gibbs, because I wholeheartedly agree. I was ready to say, let's end the show. I was about to hit end on the stream and like, we done here. Then you went outside the box with your take on Kenneth Gainwell.
Kenny Gainwell, my guy.
And in this backfield, that would be a miscarriage of justice in terms of acquiring assets to then give it to a guy that was already on your roster, to go and get Swift, to go and get Rashad Penny, and I like Gainwell. I was saying last year Gainwell was better than Miles Sanders, but in this situation, Propstar, I listen, man, like, I'm gonna have to like, I will send you a strongly worded text message. But I agree with you wholeheartedly about
at 200-1 Emory. I'm a sucker for value. I like a lottery ticket. What can I say?
You can talk me into just about any 200-1 bet. Like, let's go. Who knows? If it hits, it's fun. I got 2 quick preseason bets. I will go with the Jacksonville Jaguars minus 6.5 against the Miami Dolphins. Just a week 3 preseason game. Doug Peterson's had his guys out there. I think you will see them. He hasn't had his starters out. He's been very adamant about who wants to play the younger guys or play the guys in the back end of the roster. And these guys are all getting legitimate chances to compete. The Jaguars are 2-0 in the preseason and wanted a blowout last week. And I think the Dolphins will be a little concerned about injury situations. And so I will take the Jags -6.5. I will also take the Ravens +1.5. Why, they went 24 straight, and you're telling me Harbaugh's not going to fire up the streak again? And I get him as a dog? Give me the Ravens to win outright. And we'll tail Emory loves a good parlay, so we'll tail Emory and go with the Cardinals and Ravens moneyline parlay.
But Propstarz didn't like that. He disappeared after.
I know, he did. He disappeared. He was so sad that Emory's going to send him a strongly worded text that he left. Or maybe he had his cat attack him. Either way, those are my 2 bets for the preseason.
I like it. All right, that's going to wrap up our show today. Propstars, thanks for joining us today. Emory, we always love you on the show, of course. Thank you for joining us. And Brinson, you're the best. You're the Bueller / what's the other thing that we called? I can't remember what your other superlative was. I'll have to think about that. But anyways,
most likely to derail a podcast.
Well, yeah, that is it. All right, I guess I derailed it at this point. Okay. Make sure that you join us all week long for more preseason coverage. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe on the YouTube page for everyone listening to the audio version only. Download, follow, leave a 5-star review. Tell your friends to listen and watch the pod, and we will see you next week.